All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Happy UFC 309 week. First of all, right away off the top, shout out Hoop. First place, split with one other person in the 555. Another day ending in Y for Hoopster in the MMA streets. Shout out to our man Rio, chopping, I think, 15 ways the main tournament. Awesome stuff, Rio. A little over 10,000. Shout out to our man Dartsman, also chopped, was a part of the 15-way. A lot of screenshots in the Discord, 600, 700, 500. A lot of single entry stuff. Love to see that. Big momentum rolling. Appreciate every single one watching live. Whether you're just a YouTube person, you're not a member, but you always check in, you get plenty of nice comments. Hit that like button. We appreciate you just as much. Big Marley.
Another shout out to Title last night. 45K in NBA. We got Hebrew Cheetahs, notes. I mean, no better place to be right now.
Absolutely. No better place to be. Before I bring you in, that's a perfect segue, Big Marley. Because of that winner yesterday, we are doing a deal. No better deal, obviously. NBA 50% off. I don't think we've had a 50% off one yet. It does include Shiptimizer if you want. Includes any package. Again, just the first month. If you want all the sports right now, NFL is going on. PGA swing season's going on. NBA is going on. NHL is going on. I believe I'm missing another one. I could be wrong. So many going on. I just have to pull up. Let's see. College football. Can't forget college football. So many great minds in the college football streets over here. NBA 50 gets you 50% off. Get in the Discord if you do join. Any package available. Does include the Discord except the weekly. No better time to get in. I appreciate that, Nate D. I appreciate that, Big Marley. Fights-wise, Big Marley. How we doing, man? What are your thoughts? 13? 2 5-rounders? John Jones? Thoughts overall on this card? What are you thinking?
Yeah, can't complain. We got the GOAT on the card. I'm always in for a Charles Oliveira fight card. Michael Chandler always brings it too. So I'm excited just for those two fights. I think it's a great test for Bo Nickel. The rest of the card is okay. But those are the three we're paying for right there. But yeah, man, I can't wait. I really can't wait for that Oliveira Chandler fight. That's the one. Like, just take my money.
Absolutely. The 5 rounds, we'll get to that. That's the only one that I'll say right from the top. I will have a rule 20 entry and below to have 100% of that fight. All violence, no breaks. All gas, no breaks, I should say. Will be a lot of violence. Should be fun. Sean Sullivan in here. Go collect. Nate D. JWTV. I had optimal lineup first place in the $3 tournament. Y'all right about Gas being the only dog when you said if he was the only one. Bunch of dupes, so got 1K. $3 into 1K, man. Shout out to that. Awesome stuff right there. And we lost a fight last week, if my memory serves correctly. So we had 12 fights with only 1 5-rounder, a lot of big favorites. It was kind of hard to get completely off the board. So, hey, decent amount of chops, 1K, never complain for $3. Bring the noise in here. I want to say he had a good week as well, or NBA he won, I think, like 8K or something. Shout out to Bring the Noise. Always grinded. My quick overview, another card. I think it's similar to last week in the fact that we have multiple big favorites, 4 above -600. The difference, though, 2 5-rounders this week. Almost everyone's going to play Chandler and Oliveira. We have them for over 90% combined ownership. I think that's correct. We do have more mid-tier fights this week, though, than last week. And again, we talked about last week, like all favorites could win. There was a loser on the optimal. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened this week. I'm not building for it, though. And I'll say it right away, my broad slate overview, I'm hoping all the -600 favorites win. They win pretty convincingly, where the other was like Stipe not scoring 50 or something like that. That wouldn't be good for me. I'm playing the other dogs really, jamming some of the mid-tier, which naturally is lower owned, because people are getting up to these Nichols, John Jones, Onamas of the world as the spend-ups. Any thoughts, or you just want to go right bottom to top?
Yeah, let's just get into it. I really haven't even thought about it too hard yet. Haven't been building lineups yet. I've just looked over the slate. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Again, we're pulling up the stone right here. All the sports that we have offered. MMA, the stone. This is filled out ownership projections. All these are tagged. Tomorrow, premium member, you do get Big Marley's fight rankings, though. You can see 5 stars means he loves the fight. 2 stars means he doesn't like the fight much. And then he ranks them out of 6 stars. Like, he prefers Moa more than Hardy if having to choose, is how you read this right here. You can see age, height difference, reach difference, significant strikes per minute, takedowns per 15, one-stop shop, everything you do need. But right away, I tipped it. Tipped Big Marley's thoughts right away. Women's fight, one of the most likely, is the most likely to go the distance on the card. Veronica Hardy taking on Eduarda Moa, minus 140 Hardy, plus 120 is Moa, plus 215 for this fight to finish. Hardy, plus 600 inside the distance, Moa, plus 300. Real easy for me, Big Marley. I agree with you. I don't love this fight. Moore is by far my preferred play, though. We need dogs on this card, especially if I'm fading Stipe, Paul Craig, Romero, etc. We need dogs. She's one of the best dogs on the card. Just money line value alone, 120 plus 120 at 7,500 is phenomenal. Gee, the underdog is more likely to finish, plus 300. Hardy's plus 600. You do see this takedown number. Small 2-fight sample, 3 takedowns in her first 2 UFC fights, but it's no Hardy for me. She'll be low owned if you want to play that way. I'm playing Moa. I hope she starts it off with a win. Talk about just how much upside do you think she has, though? These takedowns. Do you think she's the one wrestling? Do you think Hardy is the one wrestling? She's fine on top. Last thing to note, Moa is a big girl, 2 inches in height and reach advantage. Take this one away.
Yeah, it's kind of a striker versus grappler matchup to me, where the only way I see Moa winning is with her wrestling. But we saw her gas out in her last fight. I mean, she shot for like 20-plus takedowns in that fight. But that's what I like to see, especially from an underdog at $7,500. If Moa wins with that kind of wrestling pace, she's going to score well. Whereas Hardy, she should be looking to keep it on the feet. If she loses the first round due to wrestling, I just don't think she's going to be able to put it on Moa enough in the second or the third, even if she gets a late round stoppage, to be on the optimal lineup. Like, even her ceiling is probably not good enough on this card. I feel like her ceiling is like a 95 range. And even if she gets that, I don't think it's on the optimal lineup either. So I agree. Let's fade Hardy. I am picking her to win. I think Moa probably wins round 1. And then she starts to slow down. The takedowns aren't there as much. Hardy outstrikes her in rounds 2 and rounds 3. But on DraftKings, that could score like 53 points, and it's just not going to matter. So, yeah, Moa or pass in this one. I'll probably be underweight as a whole since I am picking Hardy to win. But, yeah, Mora's a playable dog. She's got wrestling upside, so she'll be in my pool, and I'm not going to, like, limit her. So if I end up with like 20, 25%, maybe I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, last thing I wanted to mention. So Hardy was minus 170 on Sunday, and Moore is taking 30 cents. 30 cents with a C, cents with an S. And that's why you see the price tag, 8,700 for Hardy. If this line came out, or the pricing came out today, the line minus 140 plus 120, it'd probably be 8,300, 7,900. So definitely getting some money line value on Moa. And I'm going to take that, no doubt about it. I need dogs on this card. Not playing Hardy. I thought there was one other thing I wanted to add, but maybe not. It's a pretty easy fight. No Hardy. I hope Moa wins. Oh, you were talking, you think Moa wins round 1 and slows down. So you saying that, I will be looking for a live bet spot, maybe Hardy round 1 if it's a big number. I'm already not playing any in DFS. A little natural hedge if it looks that way. I think betting MMA live is one of the best odds out there, the most EV you can get out there as a professional sports bettor, in my opinion. But I will say, if you beat them too much, DraftKings will absolutely fuck you because, you want this bet? Action review for 11 seconds, a big event happens, like they just completely screw you. So you really have to be careful. But if you can get it right away, I think watching MMA, knowing the sport, judges are so awful, take plus money in big spots too, yeah, MMA is very fun to live bet while you're watching it live. But that's a little tangent. Let's keep it rolling to another fight. I don't have much interest. It is dog or pass again for me, though. Oman Elliott taking on Basil Hafez. Elliott minus 280, Hafez plus 240. Another fight, pretty heavily favored to go the distance, plus 190 for it to finish. The underdog, Hafez plus 300 inside the distance. Elliott plus 450. Two things stand out. One, line movement. Elliott opened minus 187. Hafez plus 162. Elliott taking about a whole dollar. Now minus 280. That's a lot of line movements. The other thing, the underdog, pretty big underdog in Hafez, better finishing prop, plus 300 compared to Elliott plus 450. Seen that the first two fights now, the underdog more likely to finish. This $1,400 goes a long way on a card like this. Plus 450 to finish from Elliott, that's not good at all, especially when you got to outscore guys like Charles Oliveira. Obviously, Hoofy, Nickel, Jones are all more expensive, but I mean, Elliott gets you 88. These guys get you 118. You probably need the 118. So I don't like Elliott's upside unless you tell me he's going to wrestle a lot. Hafez is a solid wrestler himself, though. Hafez or pass for me. How do you see it?
Same. I don't see a ton of upside here for Elliott. I think it's kind of similar to last fight, really, where Hafez I give the wrestling edge to, especially early in the fight, but he could start to slow down, and I don't think that Elliott will. So maybe it's another one where Hafez wins the first round, Elliott wins the second and the third, and it's a better spot to look for a live bet at plus money rather than to pay, minus 250 or whatever he's going to be at right now. But yeah, for DraftKings, 8,800, he's just going to be probably priced out of my lineups. I don't know that I'm going to X him out, but with like 20 or less, I would X him out. And then Hafez, I'm interested in. He's got heavy hands. He could knock out Elliott. And I like his wrestling upside. If he could just get the cardio together to wrestle heavily for 3 rounds, I mean, he's got a solid style for DFS. So 7,400, sign me up. I'm actually picking Hafez to win this one. He's my preferred play. I'll be overweight to him and probably fading Elliott.
Let's go. I love it. And you're picking Hafez outright. Give me all that. I love it. 200 dogs for me to start the card. And again, it's no secret. I told you my plan at the top. I'm not playing those in 20 teams. I'm not playing any of those underdogs when the favorites are minus 600. So naturally, I'll be playing the underdogs in fights that aren't like that. 2 for 2 underdogs. For me, moving on to a solid mid-tier fight right here. One that is slight. Actually, it's a coin flip to finish. Mickey Gaul minus 143. Ramiz Brahimaj plus 123. Plus 100 for this fight to finish. Both fighters plus 255 inside the distance. Going to throw it to you right on this, Big Marley. 1.81 takedowns, or excuse me, 1.18 for Gaul, 1.61 for Brahimaj. And then I'm looking at these props. Plus 550 for Gaul by submission and plus 450 for Brahimaj. Both of those have been bet down. Are we getting a wrestling match? Scrambles, reversals, sub upside on both? Or do you see it mainly on the feet?
Yeah, this is one I just don't know what I'm going to do with. I feel like I'm closer to a 4-star, though, than a 2-star. I do like this fight and both sides of it because both guys are at their best on the ground. I mean, Brahimaj, like on the regional scene, and he's had a fight or two in the UFC just against scrubs where when he's aggressive early with his wrestling and grappling, I like him, and I'm a big fan of what I see in that. But then there's other fights where he comes and he just doesn't even look to wrestle, and he doesn't do anything on the feet either. So I just don't trust Brahimaj. I feel like at both of them at their best, Brahimaj should win with the best game plan. But I don't trust him, and I feel like Gaul, I trust to fight harder for my money. I think he's the better striker in this one. He's got submission upside too, so if he can stay safe in round 1, I feel like Brahimaj is more likely to slow down, and Gaul could pick it up in the second and the third. So Gaul is going to be my pick, but for $400 more, I'm fine dropping down to Brahimaj if that's what I need to like the rest of my lineup more. I just don't have a big preferred play in this one. I'll just be targeting both sides. I want to force it into lineups, but it's not like an all-in fight because, like you said, it could be a striking match, and that's just not going to be good for anybody. I don't see a knockout happening in that situation. I think it would be a low-paced striking match where the winner could score 60, like mid-60s or something like that. So, yeah, that's not good at all. I'd guess right now, if I had to put a number on it, maybe I'd be around 25 to 35% on either side.
And looking at that, that would put you overweight on both. And I love it because we're going to get to this next fight that's pretty much the same money lines, right in the same pricing, but minus 325 to finish, while this is plus 100. This is a clear pivot in the mid-tier, especially from that one fight. And you can also get different in a way of build a Gaul lineup, drop down from Gaul to Brahimaj. You naturally 400 plus. You get a plus 123 underdog. If you're telling me like 20 dupes is the Gaul team, zero, it's unique to go to the Brahimaj team. Brahimaj team's the mathematical winner every single day. When you win, how much do you win? So little things like that is how I'm going to be looking to get different on this card. In terms of your breakdown, I have nothing more to add. Gaul is my preferred play because he's my pick, but it's not a strong lean. If I had more Brahimaj, I'd be fine. Clear pivot, though, right away in the mid-tier to this next fight. When you see ownership tomorrow, you will see much lower ownership. This one carrying a good amount. Marcin Tybura taking on Janata Diniz, minus 325 for this fight to finish. Or Tybura's minus 146, Diniz plus 126, minus 325 for this fight to finish. Diniz, the slight underdog, better finishing odds at plus 100. Tybura plus 195. So I'm going to throw it to you on this. Obviously, it's going to be heavily owned. There are bigger inside the distance props, but all of these guys, big favorites. Mid-tier, going to get a lot of ownership. You do have a 4-star, though, and 9 to 5-star. So explain why that is. Explain past that this fight busts. And I'm assuming you're not making a rule to have 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely not. I actually started as a 5-star in my first runnings. I had this as a 5-star, and I had Jones Miocic as a 5-star. And I was like, man, do I really want to have 4 5-star fights on here? I'm not sure. So I'm putting them at 4 for now. Maybe I'll change them again. But I think Tybura's path to a victory is through the ground. Like he's a decent striker, especially for a heavyweight, but not in this matchup. You don't want to go out there and kickbox with Diniz. Diniz is just better. He's more durable. He's more dangerous. So Tybura should be looking to wrestle in this fight. And if he can get one takedown, that's a wrap for the round. I think he's just hanging out there in top control, or he's getting a ground and pound finish, or possibly Diniz gives up his back and he gets a rear naked choke or something like that. But I think he could do that for all 3 rounds and score well in a decision. So almost all path to victories for Tybura can score well, unless it is just a striking match for over a round or two. Then that would suck for the Tybura side too. But I like the Tybura side for that wrestling upside. Diniz is more so for his knockout upside. If he gets a first round knockout, he's on the optimal lineup. If he gets wrestled the entire first round and then he gets a knockout in the second round, then how much do we want? I'm not sure. And if he wins a decision, he's just not on the optimal lineup at all. I just don't see how that would happen. So I don't know what I want to do with the Diniz side, but I will be overweight on the Tybura, I think.
Tybura is my preferred side too, but I think Diniz is someone, if I get 20%, which is clearly underweight, I'd be fine. Hopefully, like you said, if he wins a decision, he doesn't score enough. If Tybura wins, he obviously is an optimal. He is plus 275 in round 1, which is nice, though, which is why on the flip side, if I had 40% Diniz or even 45, maybe I'd be fine with that as well, because doesn't break the bank at all. 8,000, like he can easily put up 110. Plus 275 in round 1. Tybura can't get takedowns early. Bink, 110 right there, breaks the slate. So he's one. I mean, I know I'm going to have exposure to this fight. Tybura is my preferred play if having to choose. But again, any team you build a Tybura, you could drop to Diniz, save 200, and you're naturally going to be more difference. And you're not sacrificing upside, really. So, yeah, I mean, in chalkier lineups, I'm probably going to play like a Gaul Brahimaj fight and maybe fade this. If I'm already like fading John Jones and Stipe fight, which I will have some lineups like that, then probably more likely to go Diniz to Tybura, stuff like that. So not much more to add. I'm in agreement with you. Tybura, my preferred side, though. More UFC experience and the wrestling grappling upside. Very, very big gap. Might only take one takedown. You think Diniz can knock him out late and score lower than Gaul? If Gaul wins, go ahead, Big Marley.
Yeah, just Tybura wrestles him, dominates the first round, wrestles him the second round, starts to slow down, and then it comes out in the third round. Diniz lands his first shot, gets a knockout in the early third.
There you go. Absolutely. Let's keep it going. Next fight on the card, one of my favorite fighters, David Onama, coming in as a massive 900 favorite, taking on Roberto Romero, coming in as plus 600, making his UFC debut. The only prop I see on this fight, it was added late, under 1.5 rounds at plus 105. When this line opened, which was yesterday, under 1.5 opened plus 120, now plus 105. So the under was hit. And then Onama opened minus 1,200 yesterday, now minus 900. So some buyback on Roberto Romero. You going to be playing any of this guy? Looking at your 1-star, I'm assuming not. And then David Onama, obviously big favorite, going to be heavily favored to finish. He's $9,700. John Jones is cheaper. Oliveira is cheaper. Bo Nickel, who we'll get to, is 100 more. Hoofy, big favorite, is 100 less. How do you rank Onama amongst them? What are you doing with him? What are you doing with Romero?
Yeah, I haven't decided on Romero with 150. I won't be playing him with 20 or less lineups. But in my opinion, I only watched 2 fights of his. But I mean, he looked really good in his last fight on the ground. And he had an exciting fight on the night or the fight before that, where it was more so on the feet, but I just don't think he can do that here with Onama. Onama is just so much better on the feet. He's just way more dangerous as well. And if Romero can't wrestle for 3 rounds on short notice, I just think he's getting picked apart on the feet. And maybe he does have 1 round of success, and then Onama knocks him out in the second round, and that wouldn't be – I mean, Onama's off the optimal lineup in that case, which is why I don't have him as like a 5-star. But he is kind of knockout or bust at $9,700 because I doubt Onama looks to wrestle in this one. He can strike at a high pace, but I don't see him striking at a high enough pace where he's just going to be on the optimal lineup in a decision win here. So he kind of needs that knockdown, a knockout, maybe a knockdown or 2 along the way. So I do like him because I'm picking him to get a knockout. I think he has a big striking advantage, and I don't think Romero has enough takedowns in the tank to go 3 rounds in this one. So it's kind of like Onama or pass is what I'm thinking, and I doubt I have enough salary to get to Onama, but I just don't think he's going to have a whole lot of ownership either, and that makes me like him too at like half of John Jones's ownership. I think he's a decent pivot and more likely to get a first-round knockout than John Jones.
For sure. I see it the same way. I'm not playing Romero, but he's going to be a lot lower owned than John Jones and then Bo Nickel. Hoofy's going to be in the same boat. Hoofy's going to be lower owned than Bo Nickel and John Jones. Those are the clear pivots in the upper tier. He's minus 900. I'm curious to see what the round 1 prop's going to be, but my guess is plus 150 or something. I think this is like this Lesky dos Santos Scrogan fight of last week where there's just levels to this shit. And Romero's not even close to the level of David Onama. Onama's a fast starter. He had Landwehr pretty much dead in round 1. I don't think if he puts the pace like that on Romero, dude's going to be able to sustain that at all. So if Romero wins, if Stipe wins, if Paul Craig wins, if Yantop wins, it's going to be a bad week for me. There's no doubt about that. If all of them lose, and Oliveira Chandler's on the winner, I should be live pretty close to the end. That's all you can ask for. So that's my path. You guys know where I'm going. We'll keep it rolling to the next fight. Pretty good one. Some old UFC bets. Damon Jackson taking on Jim Miller. Minus 176 Jackson. Plus 151. Plus 151 is Jim Miller. Minus 115 for this fight to finish. Underdog, again, a lot of these. The underdog and Jim Miller more likely to finish at plus 200 compared to Damon Jackson at plus 285. Right here, 2.34 takedowns, 1.53 takedowns. I think Damon Jackson's more likely to have success offensively wrestling. Jim Miller's takedown defense below 50%. And I think Jim Miller is more dangerous on the feet. Damon Jackson has been cracked multiple times. Do you kind of see it the same way, or do you think, or I guess, do you just see it differently? How do you see this fight going?
It's another one where I'm not really sure how this one plays out. I think both guys are at their best. They're grapplers. Both of them decent wrestlers. They can strike, but I mean, I kind of give Miller the striking edge, the danger edge early in the fight. Both guys can slow down too, especially if they're wrestling heavy early in this one. I would like to see just both these guys rolling throughout most of the fight. I don't know who the better grappler is. I feel like I'd rather have my money on Jim Miller at these odds. So that's kind of how I have it, as a 3 all across the board. I'm fine with either side. I prefer the underdog in Miller, especially for $1,000 less. I just feel like this could be a split decision type of fight. I always prefer the underdog in that case, so I picked Miller for that reason. But both of them have high upsides. Most of Jackson's fights do end inside the distance. I mean, it's on a pay-per-view. They could both bring it. It could end early. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with this one. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, I mean, I have to play it. It's minus 115 to finish. I will say it was minus 130, so odds coming in the under a little bit. I prefer the Jim Miller side for sure because of the $1,000 in savings. So I'm probably overweight him mid on Jackson, but I will say Damon Jackson's a clear pivot in the upper tier, and I won't be playing Veronica Hardy, and I don't love Oban Elliott. So I'm going to have to play Damon Jackson in chalkier lineups, and I do think he has 4+ takedown upside and like can just top control Jim Miller as well. And I think he'll be like comfortable down there. Like he has good grappling. I don't think he gets submitted off his back in that instance. I don't know, man. I can totally see the Tybura fight Diniz just being a sloppy heavyweight fight that somehow busts. And if that's the case, you have a lot of leverage with this Jackson fight, with the Eric Anders fight, with the Gaul fight, stuff like that. So it all depends. Like I like my team has to tell a story. If I'm fading the Stipe fight, I probably go more of the Tybura stuff. If I'm already playing Michael Chandler, John Jones, maybe that's when I play Damon Jackson or something like that. Because I do think he's leverage off of Jim Miller a bit, because I expect Jim Miller to actually be higher owned at 1K less. So that's my thoughts on this one. I'm definitely playing some, though. Minus 115 to finish. Both guys average over a takedown per 15 minutes.
I dig it. If you were to rank it out of 5 stars, what would you put it up?
3.5. It's
really?
I
feel like I'm probably closer to 2 stars than 4 stars on
then
this
3.
one.
Then 3.
Yeah. I'll probably keep it there.
The thing is, like, if Jackson gets a takedown, but Jim Miller reverses it, and the next thing you know, Damon Jackson does, or one of these guys slow a bit, any fight that could play out majority on the mat and is slightly favored to finish, there's always some intrigue there. And yeah, it does. Damon Jackson likes to push the pace, like you said. So yeah, 3-star I think is fair. Mid-tier's pretty tough this week. There's a lot of pretty close fights when you compare them, relatively speaking. Let's keep it rolling. Like button. Appreciate it a lot. Everybody watching live, watching on playback. Do us a favor. It takes 1 second out of your day. Like button. Subscribe button. Thank you very much. Next fight on the card, Eric Anders taking on Chris Weidman. Closest line fight. Eric Anders, depends on the book you're looking. Bet online, minus 115. Chris Weidman, minus 105. Plus 150 for this fight to finish. Eric Anders, plus 275. Weidman, plus 365. I mean, Weidman's the clear, like, he's going to be higher owned, I think. I think he's a strong play because he's pretty much a coin flip, and he's 7,700. So any win, 70 could be enough this week at 7,700. Not guaranteed, but I have interest on that side because I do think 70 could be enough. Also, 3.44 takedowns per 15, maybe some wrestling upside on the Weidman side at this tag. I'm in. I do not like Anders, but I don't know. Plus 275 isn't crazy. Plus, what is he in round 1? Plus 600. It's not great. I said probably like cap Anders around 15%, which is a little worse than his plus 275 prop and about even with his ownership, and just play him in chalky lineups and hope it gets you different. I hope he luck boxes something. But for the most part, it's Weidman or it's nothing in this fight. How do you see it?
I'm on the Anders side more so. I think he's more alive for the knockout, in my opinion. But I just see this as a slower paced striking match where we're just not even going to get 10x from the winner on either side. If it is that type of fight, then I would prefer Weidman. I like Weidman to have the wrestling and grappling edge, but just I don't know about this old Weidman, and I don't know how long he would have that edge either. So yeah, I expect this one to mostly play out on the feet. I trust Anders a little bit more. And if he wants to test Weidman's chin, like and just kind of throw a few furies, I think it would be smart of him to do that. And I think he's live for the knockout. So give me Anders by knockout or decision. And he's my preferred play.
If Anders gets a knockout, there's definitely a chance for a lot less dupes up top. He's definitely a pivot in that upper tier range. I'm not going to play Veronica Hardy. I prefer Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson or Anders, I guess, if having to pick. I guess probably Anders by your stars.
Yeah, for me.
Yep, it makes sense. Both of them are pivots in that range for sure up top. Let's keep it going. Next fight, another good one. For sure, real life. Interesting one in DFS, right in that mid-tier. Marcus McGee, minus 138, taking on Jonathan Martinez at plus 118. Minus 110 for this fight to finish. McGee plus 165 inside the distance. Jonathan Martinez plus 400. So this fight opened plus 110 to finish. Now minus 110. Would you like to see? Both guys throw solid volume. Both average less than a takedown per 15. The inside the distance prop, heavily favored McGee, I think is pretty interesting, and it makes sense. Martinez, I'll never forget the Davey Grant knockout. Cost me cheese. I was always high on Jonathan Martinez. I love his kicks. He's always game, but he's not a great DFS scorer, which I want you to talk about. And McGee's got pop, and if it hits the ground, he's definitely levels above Martinez in the grappling. So what upside do we need from Martinez? And then I like McGee, no doubt about that. I think he has upside. Martinez, I don't know about his chin, and McGee has pop, but minute winner in this one, I don't know. It's hard for me to really think McGee should be minus 140. This feels more coin flip-ish that way. Break down this fight. I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm on the McGee side for DFS. I do think he just has more upside, more finishing upside, more wrestling upside. I do think he is probably our better minute winner. It could come down to leg kicks on the Martinez side, though, how much he can slow down McGee. If he's landing a lot of leg kicks early, then I like that for Martinez. I like that for his chances to win as well. But if he's not getting a knockdown along the way, I doubt he's landing more than like one takedown in this fight. I don't see Martinez having a great ceiling in this one. And I see him similar as a Weidman play, I guess. I'll probably be similar on both of them. And since I'm picking McGee to win, I will. He's my preferred play, but I just don't know how much exposure I'm going to get to him. I could see him scoring anywhere from like 65 to 95 or something like that. So I'll have some of them. I would guess probably around the field though, and I'm fine being 5% or 5 to 10% over, 5 to 10% under.
You have this fight as a 3-star. You have Jackson Miller as a 3-star. You have Gaul Brahimaj as a 3-star. Rank those three for me.
Gaul Brahimaj, Jackson Miller, then this one.
I like it. Makes a lot of sense. So this does have the least amount of wrestling upside, I think. Do you think McGee shoots? Like he clearly, or do you think he needs to be getting pieced apart to then try and shoot?
I don't know. I think he could. I think it would be smart of him to shoot early, just kind of keep Martinez guessing.
Yeah, I think it'd be smart too. I don't know if he does. Todd, what's going on? Stipe. I would love to see, we'll get there. I'd love to see Stipe win, but my pocket wouldn't love to see Stipe win this week. Wouldn't love to see him win Dana White. He might never show his face again, but we'll get there. 5 fights left. Big boy favorite in this one, so you guys know what I'm doing. Mauricio Hoofy, Fighting Nerds guy, coming in at minus 900, taking on James Yontop, plus 600. Minus 205 for this fight to finish. Hoofy minus 185. Yontop plus 900. Big Marley, I think it's pretty clear. I have no interest in Yontop. I don't think you do as well. I mentioned Hoofy earlier. big boy power, striker, all 10 of his wins by knockout. The thing, though, he's 9,600. John Jones, 100 less. Bo Nickel, 200 more. Onama's 100 more. Oliveira, 600 less. Is 105 enough? I don't know. Is 110 enough? He's going to be lower owned than almost all those guys, so he's in my pool. But if I had 5% or if I had 25%, like I'd be good with it is kind of how I'm looking at it. So I'm not playing the on top. That's the most important thing. I don't want any of these guys to win in terms of big underdogs. So what are you doing with Hoofy?
He is the same as David Onama to me. As a DFS player, I look at them both as early knockout or bust. I doubt we're going to see Hoofy look to wrestle in this fight. He's not going to be really high volume. I actually think Onama would be higher volume than Hoofy. And if this is a 15-minute striking match, then he's kind of making Yontop live just based on volume alone. But I do like Hoofy striking. I'm high on this kid. I was looking forward to trying to bet him in his next fight, but I didn't think he'd be minus 800. So I won't have any action on him. I don't love the price on him. I prefer to be underweight, but it's just like Onama. I kind of don't mind a Hoofy pivot from a John Jones who's going to be twice as owned as him, or a Nickel who's going to be twice as owned as him. So they're both in play for me. I have them as 4 stars because it's just like one path for them to be on the optimal lineup, whereas Bo Nickel can be a decision and score 150 points if he wants to. These guys don't have that in them. But if Bo Nickel scores 90, these guys could put up 100 and beat them. So I'm fine mixing in both of them. I don't even really have a preference, but I guess I would say maybe just for the 100K less, Hoofy would be my preference, because if I leave that 100 on the table, maybe that just makes me that much more different.
Let's get right into the Bo Nickel fight. The biggest favorite at minus 1,200, the highest price at 9,800. Fights minus 900 to finish, most likely on the card. As you can see right here, obviously a short sample, but 7.46 takedowns for Bo Nickel. Looking at his inside the distance prop, we have him, or he's minus 1,500 now on Bet Online. His inside the distance prop himself, minus 700. His round 1 prop, minus 130. You talked about Hoofy. Go in depth more about Bo Nickel, and like if you ended up with 0 Hoofy or 0 Onama in 20 teams and just all went to Nickel, would you be good with that? I'm going to be mixing and matching, but it's clear like Bo Nickel is a level above, in my eyes, Hoofy and Onama, just because his floor feels like 100 and his upside feels like 180 or whatever. Like if he really, the guy just couldn't get finished but kept getting up and just kept getting taken down. I don't think he's scoring 150 in this matchup, but yeah, I mean, he's also going to be higher owned than them, though. So I wanted to jump to that fight. Then we'll get to Karina Silva, Vivian, which I don't think is a great fight.
I actually, I don't think I'd be okay just being all in on Nickel and not having any Hoofy and Onama. And half of the ownership, I might even prefer those two over Bo Nickel. I think it's going to be dangerous for him to wrestle in this matchup. And maybe this is one where he wants to go out there and test his striking. And if he doesn't knock out Paul Craig in the first round, then it's a wrap for his DraftKings chances, unless he wants to start wrestling in the second. But at that point, it's too late, I think. So he needs to wrestle throughout the whole fight for him to have a big score, unless he's going to get a first-round finish, which could come on the feet or the mat. But I don't know. I'm kind of worried about him getting submitted, to be honest. I'm going to play some Craig in this one. Craig is dangerous off of his back. He might be more dangerous than everyone that Bo Nickel's been rolling with for the last few years. So he hadn't seen a Craig, and I think Craig is live in this one. He's not going to get much ownership. If Craig wins, he's on the optimal lineup. Could be a first-round submission too. So like leverage-wise, I'll have more Craig, but that could be like 15%, where I'm close to maybe double the field on him. But if Bo Nickel's going to be, let's call it 50%, I don't hate going 20, 25% on him and then just getting a little bit over on Onama and Hoofy instead.
I don't love the hot take because I don't agree, and I'm not going to be doing it, but I love the hot take in the sense of it's hot. No doubt about that. He's going to be really low owned. You get a bunch of leverage. I'll always remember him snapping my man Sweet Dreams arm. Like, he can do it. He's been counted out plenty of times. He's done it. What are your thoughts on plus 1,200 by submission? Do you just rather like play in the DFS, try and get all the upside, or do you think plus 1,200 there's value on that line?
Plus 1,200 by
submission
for Paul Craig by submission.
Yep.
Yeah,
just playing in DFS.
I'll say there's value there. I'm not going to bet it. I'll probably just play him in DFS. Give me a chance at that 200K instead.
Yeah, no, that's probably what I would do as well. Let's get to this next fight that we skipped over. I don't have much interest. I wanted to go to Bo Nickel after Hoofy because very similar range, very similar odds. Half the ownership for Hoofy, though. And you can leave 200 and get half the ownership. Like, that's a way to get different for sure. Another way to get different, play, I guess, anyone in this fight, especially Karina Silva, 9,200. She is minus 280. Vivian Araujo, plus 240 on the way back. Plus 180 for this fight to finish. Silva, plus 200. Inside the distance, Vivian, plus 825. This fight is very similar to the Diniz Gomes fight of last week for me, where it was loaded, the upper tier. It was just like big favorite, big favorite, big favorites. Diniz Gomes, that wasn't supposed to go, the fight wasn't supposed to finish. All the other ones were. And just like this one, you look at it. Expected to finish, expected to finish, expected to finish, expected to finish, finish, etc. This fight's not, and she is very expensive. Plus 200 inside the distance isn't bad, though, Big Marley. Do you think she wrestles? I guess there she would need some upside. Vivian's not easy to take down, though. I don't love Karine Silva. She's a way to get different. I won't have much. My preferred side is Vivian, though, because, again, I'm fading all these other dogs. I need to play some dogs. Vivian, a live dog. She's low-owned. Women's MMA feels like it's always closer than it should be. So Vivian's my preferred side. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not going to get too much of this fight. I do think that Silva probably does get at least one takedown. I would set her prop at like 1.5 takedowns, I would guess. Something like that. I think she's live to win a striking match, but a striking is close in this one. I probably even favor Araujo a little bit. So she's super live at 7K. I just don't see her having much of a ceiling. She could win and score 60 points. I don't know that that's going to cut it. I mean, it helps you afford pretty much whatever else you want on the card. Maybe if I start building lineups and she just fits, I'm cool with her. But ideally, I'd get away from her because I do think that Silva is probably the winner. I think she's got the higher upside with her wrestling and with her early submission potential as well. So she might be my preferred play because she is going to be low owned up top. If I can't get up to all those other guys we've already been talking about, I'm kind of okay going to Silva just to be a little bit different. But at the same time, I do prefer to go to all those other people. So, like, I might X this fight out and just hope that Silva wins and scores in the 70s. So that's probably my plan with hand builds. But I'll keep it in my – if I make 150, I'll keep it in my player pool, and I'd be fine getting both of them. I'd be fine anywhere from like 10 to 20% Araujo, and then maybe like anywhere from 10 to 25, maybe even 30% Silva if I really liked everything else.
Yeah, so you like her definitely a good bit more than me. And again, that's a way to get different. I'm going to keep her in my pool in 20 teams. I'll probably keep her like 10%, 15% max, probably 10%. Again, like if I'm playing Chandler, John Jones, maybe I'd plug her in to get a little bit different. Then Mora's fine. You can just eat a lot more chalk around it. I don't love playing – if I'm playing Silva, I'm not playing like Paul Craig. And again, I'm not playing Paul Craig anyway, but I don't think that's the combinations you should be using. 2 fights left, Big Marley. Both of these are 5-rounders. It's hard to draw up a better fight than this. You mentioned it earlier. Charles Oliveira taking out Michael Chandler. Minus 255 is DuBronx. Plus 215 is Michael Chandler. Minus 800 for this fight to finish. Oliveira minus 200 inside the distance. Michael Chandler plus 250. Nobody out there has more aura than my man Charles Oliveira. Nobody better to watch. All gas, no brakes. He is never in a boring fight. This is a rematch. Michael Chandler's never in a boring fight, though, either. These two meet in the middle, car crash. First fight, Michael Chandler all round one. Round two starts. Oliveira recovers great. Left hook, too powerful. Awesome to see that. Was all over Oliveira in the first one. Those odds were a lot closer than this, though, Big Marley. Minus 255. I mean, Michael Chandler's in shape. Michael Chandler has power. Charles Oliveira has been cracked. Interesting thing, though, ownership. I'll say this, what we have, because I was a little surprised. 48% Oliveira and 47% Chandler. If that's the case, Chandler is my preferred play, and I would want like 70-30. I am making a rule. But dogs stink on this card. So I was expecting Chandler to be like 55 and Oliveira maybe to be like 38 or something. Because last fight I remember, Charles was the dog against Arman Tsarukyan, but actually almost double the ownership, or definitely higher. Arman was the leverage play. I was thinking Oliveira might be the leverage play just because the 9K range is loaded and the dogs stink. But you're better at ownership than me. And again, he still is minus 250. At these odds, at this ownership, 48-47, I think I prefer Chandler. And my initial thoughts were going to be, I think I prefer Oliveira because I thought the odds would be a little wider. So either way, I'm having 100% of this fight. And like this fight's not going to burn me unless it's not on the winner, and then it'll absolutely cook me. Break it down.
Yeah, I'm probably going to make a – I don't know that I'm going to make a rule. I'll probably just have them projected high enough that they end up in 100% of my lineups. I just expect this to be fight of the night. If it goes past the first 3 minutes, this is going to be fight of the night. Can't wait for it. I think either a guy could win and score 120 points in this one. Chandler's got big-time power. He's got solid wrestling. Oliveira's probably the smoother striker. He's dangerous on the feet. He's the nastiest submission artist we've ever seen, in my opinion. I'm a DuBronx fan. I'm biased, so he's my preferred play. He's my favorite play on the card. But I don't know that I want to go 70-30 on him. I might just let the Shiptimizer do its thing and just put in high projections on both of them. Maybe I'll go like 110 on Oliveira and like 80 on Chandler to where it like forces it into lineups. So I'll just keep messing with it as it builds and gives me my exposures. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Just put some high scores for both of these guys and hope that it is in 96 to 100% of my lineups. But give me DuBronx to get a submission at some point. I never pick against DuBronx.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to make a rule. So I know I'm going to have 100%. I know I'll be overweight, whether it fields at 92, 88, whatever it may be. And I'm really going to have to track line movement, try and get a better idea of ownership. Again, 48-47, Oliveira one higher owned. My preferred play is Chandler because of the dogs we need on this card. If it's a little wider gap, I think Oliveira. But maybe I'll just go 50-50 on both, and I know I'm slightly overweight on both as well. It's not going to be a strong lean for me on either side, but I'm going to make sure I don't have over 70% on one side. I do know that. Main event time, baby. Main event time. I wish it said John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. Hopefully one day we can pray. Instead, John Jones taking on Stipe Miocic. John Jones a big favorite, minus 650. Stipe plus 475 on the way back. Minus 500 for this fight to finish. John Jones minus 300. Inside the distance, Stipe plus 575. John Jones in round one plus 300. I already told you guys what I'm doing. I am not playing any Stipe, the big dog. If I were to play a big dog, it would be Stipe. We have him at 17% though. I don't think there's I don't think Stipe wins this fight 17% of the time. I don't know if I'm buying too much into like the narrative and all that, but I just don't see how Dana, I just don't understand how Dana this fight could happen. Stipe wins after everything Dana's done, after everything John Jones has done, the legacy gone, all this. Feels like if it gets tough on the feet, John Jones can get it to the mat. It feels on the feet though, John Jones, Stipe can crack, but it feels like John Jones still with the huge reach. As you can see, 4 inches on the stone, same in height. It feels like it's John Jones, man. I don't see how he loses this fight. I do think eventually he does get takedowns, styles on him, and I think he brings back the 12-6 elbows and tries to prove a point. What do you see?
Yeah, John Jones is the greatest fighter we've ever seen. And he looks pretty good right now, too, I think. Miocic is like, what is he, 41, 42 years old now, 42. We haven't seen him in like 4 years. He is the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's a good wrestler. He's a great boxer. He's got power. He's got volume. So, I mean, I like everything about Miocic. If Miocic wins, he's on the optimal lineup. But I've never picked against John Jones. Not going to start now. So John Jones is going to be my pick at $9,500. My worry would be that this is too much of a striking match and he just doesn't get there. But if he looks to wrestle, man, I think he is the best wrestler we've ever seen, and he's the most dangerous with his elbows that we've ever seen on the ground too. So that's what I would want him to be doing here. And if the striking is close, then I would imagine he falls back onto it. So I do like John Jones. I prefer him over Bo Nickel. But he is the one who I would see wins the fight and doesn't make the optimal lineup. Maybe it's just like a lot of like 2-3 rounds to start are on the feet and he's not looking for any takedowns. I think it could be too late at that point at a $9,500 price tag. But I don't know. I mean, he's the greatest to ever do it. If he wants to wrestle, I think he could score 150 points.
Yeah. That's the reason I'm not playing Stipe is because it allows me more fight fades. Like, I really don't think Stipe wins. When I don't play John Jones, I'm overweight on fight fades, and I could be overweight on John Jones if I wanted to be. The wrestling upside with John Jones definitely is what makes him a better play than Nickel for cheaper, Hoofy for cheaper, Onama for cheaper. I still do prefer Oliveira if I had to pick because the dude's just amazing DFS score and the 500 savings. But I'll be jamming that fight. If you are going John Jones, Oliveira, something like that, be careful. Like, I don't think your next 2 shot spots should be like Jim Miller or Mora or something like that. Again, we will have ownership projections. All the content will be up tomorrow. As you can see, everything under here is offered for MMA. Our projections, ownership. You will be able to see the clear pivot spots, the clear leverage when you do click ownership. All of this will be color-coded. Projections, ownership will be in. What they weigh in at will be filled in as well. College football going on this week. NFL, PGA, NBA. No better time. Get over. Big night yesterday in the NBA streets. Have the promo code NBA50. No better deal out there. Gets you 50% off your first month. Includes Shiptimizer as well. Big Marley, final thoughts before we get on out of here. Good work as always.
Yeah, final thoughts. If you want to build your bankroll for this card, go throw a bunch of money on Jake Paul. And we're getting this dude at -200 or better against a 58-year-old. I think that's super sharp money. So that's my biggest bet in a long time. Jake Paul, let's go there. And then hopefully that's fun. Then we have a banger card here. Roll into Free Money Sunday. Can't wait for this weekend. Congrats once again to you, Title. Good luck this weekend. Good luck to everybody listening. Let's ship it.
Thank you. And I do love that bet. Is it on DraftKings, FanDuel? What books can we get that?
I got it on DraftKings at -200 today. I saw -160 on MGM as well. So,
wow. Unfortunately, yeah. I can't get more than $1 down there, but I will be looking for that. I do. Yeah, I mean, punch the bags a little harder, Tyson. I mean, drop that line even more. I definitely.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to keep flocking to it, so I could see it going down. I'll keep throwing more on it, to be honest with you.
I like it. That'll be a sweat. I'll be cheering it on. Good stuff, Big Marley, as always. Always enjoy talking some fights with you. Good luck, everybody out there. Appreciate every single one watching. Like button, subscribe button on the way out. 13 fights, Madison Square Garden. Good luck. Let's make some money for Big Marley. I'm Titletown. Be safe. Peace.